we are counting down to perhaps the most important election date so far in the race for the White House, the Florida primary happening on Tuesday. Political analyst Paul Phillips is here to break everything down for us. Now, Paul, I was talking with you kind of off camera just about how critical Florida is. Why is it so important to win the Sunshine State?
Well, Florida's very diverse, as you know, and moving our primary up put us into the spotlight. Florida has lower Alabama, lower Georgia, southern Long Island, a very broad, diverse Hispanic population. Winning in Florida with multiple issues is very important.
So how does Newt Gingrich and how does Mitt Romney make that happen, make that win happen for them?
Well, it's very difficult. You can't go up to the Northern Panhandle and say, drill, baby, drill.
Right.
You can't go down to South Miami and talk about immigration. So the message has to be almost bland. They can't really focus on some of the more typical issues you see in Iowa, in Florida. So winning, I think, in Florida is going to come down to the economy. And most important to Floridians, given our current unemployment rate, given the housing issues, is going to be the economy. So I think in that, Romney comes off a little stronger than Gingrich. You
talked about Romney. A lot of the ads that he has now put out go right after Gingrich. Are we going to see a lot more of that as the campaign continues?
You know, South Carolina kind of set the stage. I would say that Gingrich fired the first shot. If you look at what his argument was, is you haven't released taxes. Well, it was middle of January. Most people hadn't received a 1099 yet, so it was, and probably have his taxes. He did release projected taxes. And he was put on the defensive in South Carolina because of that. And so I think he's coming back, making up for that misstep. Yeah.
Over the weekend, Herman Cain endorsed Newt Gingrich. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll just say birds of a feather, as we were discussing before. A lot of the people that were for Herman Cain in the beginning were more the anti-Romney individuals, which seems to be what we see is anti-Romney floating from campaign to campaign.
Right.
Perry had dropped out right before South Carolina, and those people tended to run over to Newt.
I wanted to mention the Quinnipiac poll, too, that was released not too long ago. 1,500 registered voters were surveyed, and people were asked who would have a better chance at beating President Obama. Mitt Romney came out on top with those numbers. Actually, no, I should say it was basically a tie, 45%, 45% in a hypothetical race between the president and Mitt Romney. And then if you looked at Newt Gingrich, well, those numbers decreased for the Gingrich campaign, 50% for the president, 39%. What are your thoughts on that? And do you feel like the Republican Party needs to elect someone that can beat the president rather than someone who, as you said, it's kind of like American Idol, has the popular night during the debate?
I think it's important to look at who overall is going to be best for our country. That's pretty much what the voters should be thinking of. A lot of them are thinking, well, Gingrich is such a great debater. He'll go out and debate Obama and it'll be great to see. Well, if the next 4 years aren't going to be so great, maybe you shouldn't focus on a debate. It's obviously important for the Republican Party to beat Obama this election, but I don't think that should be the only consideration in selecting who's going to be best for the country as a whole. Yeah, great advice. Yeah, great points just all around. And this is so fascinating, and I love being a part of it here in the Sunshine State because, again, this is such a critical place to be. The convention, we do want to mention, it's just about 211 days away. And remember to stay on top of all of the developments in the race for the White House. Check out our website, fldemocracy2012.com. Paul, thanks so much for coming in today. John, back to you.
Hey, still to come on ABC Action News, a look at a couple of events happening under the big top and at the Trop. And we hope our new Bucks head coach appreciates his debut on News View.